Welcome to the After Dark Show with Don Rogers.
Welcome everybody to the After Dark Show. I'm Don Rogers. Before I get into tonight's introduction, I want to congratulate a new friend of mine. It was actually somebody I met from over on Trippy Island. We ran a contest, Tripp and I did. He was going to give away some digital art, and I gave away a shirt, which I'm wearing, but you can't see because I have a green screen. And it was one of 3 that were going to ever be produced. And it's actually of my background here. And the winner was right here from in Canada. His name is Dave Russell, and he's from Labrador City, Newfoundland, and I'm absolutely stoked that he has already received it. I ordered that like the next day after he won the contest, and this was his response to getting the show, and I can't thank him enough for becoming a fan of this show and hanging out. Dave, you are absolutely awesome. I love that you vogued in your new After Dark Show shirt. So much respect, and I love you, my fellow Canadian, and keep watching and keep participating because you are awesome, my friend. Before we get into tonight's introduction of the guest again, and kind of sitting in the wings about my health, because there was a time where I did not know what was going on, and it was getting very, very scary. It was bordering on the fact that I was basically willing myself to live, and nobody in the medical industry could figure out why. And nobody in ours, I actually got more results, I'm going to be completely honest, from some of the energy healers than I did from the prescriptions. Big fucking surprise that I was prescribed. Like, I had several energy sessions, and just to name a few, like Eve Howard and Matt Mornian both reached out and offered their services. Sam and Kirsten from Metaphysical Fat Podcast have also reached out and offered me services. Like, you guys are absolutely amazing and have done nothing but try to help. Like, certain people in this community actually sent health products to my house to try to help me. And I can't explain to you how much that means, because I still actually do have some gut issues, but the love you guys showed me is absolutely phenomenal. And now I'm going to solve the mystery for everybody of what was actually going down. I did initially have a issue with my gallbladder. It had reached a state because of the diet and I was on, which was not healthy. I've mentioned it on the show. That's why I had to get so much dental work. Is I literally had a candy drawer. I was a sugar junkie. I absolutely loved it, and it destroyed my gallbladder. But in the process, I had to get an MRI. And if you jump back about 15 years ago, I was hanging out with some friends, having some fun one night, and I got shot in the stomach with an air pistol. And, you know, I didn't really think anything of it. It was point blank. I didn't know if the BB bounced or went in. I didn't really care, right? It didn't bother me. It stung a bit, but I laughed it off. Well, flash ahead 15 years, they put me through an MRI, and it all of a sudden starts beeping. And they're like, you have a BB in your stomach. And I'm like, oh, crap. And they're like, can you feel it move? And I'm like, something happened. It's kind of warm. They're like, if it moves, tell us, we'll stop. And it didn't move. It just kind of felt warm. So I didn't really think anything of it. So proceed to the fact that they took out my gallbladder and did the surgery and all of that. But I never really got any better. I was getting far, far worse, and multiple trips to the hospital because like I felt like I was physically dying. So I went through every regimen of tests that they could possibly do, x-rays, internals, bios, blood. I'm not, they did things to me that I don't even want to talk about on the air. And it all came back that I was in perfect health, and they were absolutely stymied. So I went back to my doctor. I'm like, I have one more thing. 15 years ago, I was shot in the stomach, and I'm getting a lot of discomfort, and I think there might be something wrong with the BB since you guys ran me through the MRI. They removed the BB 2 weeks ago, and I have not felt this good in 10 years. I was being poisoned. They removed 76 milliliters, and to you that don't know the metric system, that's about a third of a can of soda of poison out of my abdomen. And it was leaching in through my muscular system, and that's why it wasn't showing up on blood or stool tests, because it was coming into me intramuscularly and poisoning me, and there was really no way to trace it until I came up with the idea. I think it's from my BB. So all that being said, I am on the mend and feeling better than I have for years. I am back, baby, and we are going to do this shit. So let's rock into this. Tonight's guest is truly one of my favorite people to talk to. He is one of my real life BFFs. He is, and I'm going to do this in my big boy voice, he is the reigning, defending, undefeated heretic of the Forbidden Knowledge Network. He is the host of BG Cast, which to me now stands for Buddy Guy. And last but not least, he is my interdimensional brother from another mother. And tonight he is going to help us answer many different questions, like how to integrate the spiritual and metaphysical principles in a practical sense, as well as many other thought-provoking questions we all want the answers to, such as, where the fuck have you been, Mr. Steven Stathis?
Well, dude, I gotta say, number one, I'm happy you're feeling better. I really am. I truly am happy you're feeling better. Number two, I'm loving the new look, man. I'm loving the new background. I'm loving the new intro, man. And number three, well, I've been on a little bit of a hiatus, and that's going to be ending soon. I'm adjusting to my new life right now. It's been great. As those of you who have been following me and know who I am, I had a major life transition back at the end of November. And now I am the happiest I've ever been. Was done lying to myself about being happy. And I'm enjoying myself on the shores of Lake Erie right now, hanging out. But I am making a return. I actually, believe it or not, I made a post on this on Facebook. I've been working on implementing the metaphysical and spiritual principles into my everyday life in a more pragmatic and practical manner, and on a deeper level. And I've been having some really good success with that. And I'm looking forward to sharing it with everybody tonight, man. And thank you for having me on. It's good to be back on After Dark Show.
Absolutely. And all funny jokes and intros aside, I couldn't think of anybody better to discuss walking the metaphysical walk while talking the spiritual talk, because you are the living antithesis of, take the leap of faith or shut the fuck up, because it is exactly what you did. Right? You walked your walk, you talked your talk, and you did it strictly on faith, and you're building a life for you and your small family now. So it's amazing to watch as the observer. And I fucking congratulate you for having the bravery, because you're pulling it off, dude. You're killing it.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. Well, this is one thing I've always talked about in my show too. The divine rewards leaps of faith, especially if that leap of faith is going to bring you towards a higher alignment in your life with your spiritual evolution, and even getting yourself to a better place, like just mentally, physically, emotionally. The divine rewards leaps of faith. And I actually had an example of this. This is why it was I walk the walk. I had an example of this showcase itself to me back when I first moved to Colorado back in 2015. I left my old apartment in the Northern Virginia, DC area on a eviction notice, packed everything I owned into 2 vehicles worth of stuff that we ended up bringing with us, had nothing but $500 to our name, nothing but $500 to our name. And we drove across, we sold our furniture, we sold our TVs. I mean, we sold everything, man. And we drove across the country to go move to Colorado from the East Coast. And within a few months of being there, we were already rewarded with all of our furniture and TV back. I had a job, she had a job. We were good. Got into our first place within 6 months, just continued building on that. So, if the leap of faith is going to better you, it's going to help you in, your spiritual evolution, getting you to a better and happy, because here's the thing. All right. The divine wants you to be happy. It wants you to be happy. It wants you to have a joyful, abundant life. It wants you to enjoy yourself. It wants you to live in the highest alignment that you possibly can for yourself. So if this leap of faith is putting you in that direction, all right, it's putting you in that direction, like full scale ahead, no obstacles, no nothing, you are going to be rewarded for that leap of faith. And in fact, we're going to dive into this a little bit later too. It is a act of energetic reciprocation. So I think what really helped me and achieve this is I already had a real life example of this occur to me at one point in my life. So that's why I knew that this leap of faith was going to be in my highest alignment. I felt it at the core of my being that this current leap of faith was in that. So that's why I made the move. And me being a manifester in my human design, I already have the ability to put forth and create and manifest. So I went full throttle, all gears ahead, dude. And here I am talking to you right now. I'm extremely happy and I'm loving it.
It's crazy because like that is a very, very parallel story. And you and I have mentioned that we are basically fractals of one another because we understand things on a very similar energetic level. Change DC for Ontario and Colorado for Alberta, and poof, it's me and Spinja. Because we literally did the same thing. We threw William, and at the time we only had one Husky, into a Dodge Journey and put everything in storage and drove across the country with what we could carry on a wing and a prayer, because inside of a month, my boss had died and our house was going to be put up for sale. And we were like, what do we do? And it was jump. So we jumped, and we have never been further ahead and more successful. And it was because of having trust in ourselves. And I believe that's true. Like what we're getting at here is when you show the universe, I am so fucking confident in what I'm saying, I'm going to do it first. And then the universe is like, damn, bitch, okay, I got your back. Let's go. Right. And it happens like that. It just to break it down into the simplest form. That's basically how it works. Like you have to show the universe some of that energy too.
Agreed. And that's the big thing about manifestation. A lot of people miss is manifestation at its core is energetic reciprocation. Energetic reciprocation is something that this existence is big on. I mean, everybody's heard the old saying, "You get what you give." Right. So this is the thing is I remove the bells and whistles from it. I demystify it because a lot of these concepts are actually very simple and pragmatic to incorporate into your day-to-day life. When you remove the bells and whistles, and that's the thing about our community. Don't get me wrong. I love our community to death, but sometimes we overcomplicate shit. We like to jazz it up. We like to dress it up. I've said this in my show before, humans love to dress things up. It's our way of how we deal with things. You know what I mean? But that's really what it is, man. Manifestation at its core is these three principles. It's an alignment of head, heart, and hands. Number one, you need to think about what you truly desire and what you truly want in life. You need to have it set in your heart. Your heart is a brain of itself. There's so many studies that show the heart has its own nervous system connection, attachments, and things like that. That the heart is essentially a brain. It's the brain for feeling, if you look at it that way. So, your head and your heart solidifies the emotion that this is something that you truly want, because emotion does drive manifestation too. That's also something big that comes into it. That's why. It's weird because sometimes there's certain people who can manifest in intense states of desperation, and that is really an emotionally driven manifestation at that point. And then you have your hands, so your head, heart, and your hands. Now, your hand, we can mean physical hands, or we can mean figurative hands. It does not always have to be taking your hands and doing something. But that's the first principle, is you need a head, heart, and hand alignment. And the second one is energetic reciprocation. So energy attracts energy. All right. And energy goes where the focus goes. Right. So I was even talking with you about this before the show. Like, let's say you want to start a podcast or you want to start a business. Right. You're not going to sit there and wish it and will it into being. You got to start the channel. You got to start the web page. You got to start making ideas for shows. You got to start printing out flyers, advertising yourself. You got to start putting forth energy to attract energy. All right, and that's where the energetic reciprocation comes into play. Because once you put forth energy and you start to cultivate energy towards something, that energy is going to start attracting energy. And I even talked about this before, how focus and energy are intertwined. Whether you want somebody to see your channel or you see your business, you're putting the focus into your business or your channel. And then other people are going to, their focus is going to turn towards that energy. And then you have more focus and more energy starting to cultivate and build. And then what you get is a snowball effect. And now you have basically this energy ball that's rolling downhill, collecting energy, collecting more focus, whatever it is that you're trying to achieve. And this starts rolling and it starts getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And then the third step is the energetic refinement. Once you start to get that huge energetic snowball that's rolling down the hill, then you can start to refine it. You can start to add things, or you can start to do a spin-off from it. Like for instance, how I had BG Cast, I wanted to spin off on my business, which started to work at first, but I decided to take it another road. But you can spin off from it, you can refine it, you can add things to it. I mean, for instance, if you have a podcast channel and you want to start sponsoring people, sponsoring products, start refining, or you want to start writing books, doing documentaries, things like that, the energetic refinement process of that. And then that will start to attract even more energy to the refinement aspect, but even the base foundational aspect of your manifestation, which it was in the beginning. So those are the three principles. You don't have to circumambulate the mountain 333 times at 3:33 p.m. to fucking manifest something, dude. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to sit there on a full moon and spread your butt cheeks up at the full moon while holding a grounding rod that's attached to you as it's dug into the ground in order to manifest something. That's what I mean. Like, don't get me wrong. I have got so much love for our community. I love them to death, but they have a freaking they have a tendency to overcomplicate shit, and this is where it's doing a disservice. Okay, because then when we overcomplicate things, people get turned off. So this is what I mean. Like I was told by somebody long ago that if you want to get somebody on with what you're saying, you got to put it at a 5th grade reading level, man. You got to put everything at a 5th grade reading level in order for people to understand and grasp concepts. So that's why where I come in along, I'm missing time for 20.
Fucking Jason.
That's Jason. Jason, good to see you, man. Yeah, freaking but no, that's exactly where Mooney came from. But no, I mean, we have a tendency to overcomplicate things in our community. And what this does is it turns the outsiders off, because anybody who's potentially entertaining the stuff that we do, anybody that's potentially thinking about embarking on their spiritual evolution, that's where I've talked about blue collar spirituality, or I've talked about, like the regular person spirituality and things like that. We're in this time where we can start to take these very complex spiritual topics and we can break them down on a level that people understand. And this is what's going to attract more. This is what's going to change the collective consciousness. So that's why I come along and when I say demystify, I'm not saying these things aren't special. They're insanely awesome, insanely spiritual things. They are indeed very special. But what I do is I remove the bells and whistles. I remove the shit. I trim the fat. That's the best way to describe it, is I trim the fat. I give you the lean cut of meat of everything that you need to know in order to achieve this. So that's kind of what I do.
I think that's amazing. And what I wanted to get before we get away from that, because I have a whole section on your bells and whistles thing. But I asked you this before the show, and I think it's basically a good thing for everybody to know the difference between focusing and trying to draw something in and jinxing yourself and pushing it away. Because a lot of us are guilty of that when we're first figuring out the manifestation process, because we get so stressed out because it's not happening. I gotta focus harder. Well, now I'm pissed off. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. We were talking about the trial and error we had, because we were trying chanting version of manifestation where we were trying to achieve something specific. But here's the thing: I highly do not recommend you do that type of manifestation, because unless you are a highly specific person with very good attention to detail, I mean absurd attention to detail, you're going to get the wrong thing. And Don and I were talking about this because we were at a time where Don back I think this was in season 2 of BG Cast, where you and I were trying to manifest something. We're trying to manifest more financial abundance, and all we got was more overtime hours. Like
Yeah.
the divine was throwing us more hours at work, and we're like, no, this is not what we want. This is we want more money for the time that we're already doing, like, and things like that. We don't want more work. We don't want more overtime. So that's why, it's probably best, unless that you are a highly specific and highly detail oriented person. If you are, and you can work out all of the minute tiny details of what you're trying to achieve in a mantra chant for manifestation, then by all means go right ahead, if you're that kind of person. But like, I'm not. I'm ADHD, yeah. So me putting in very fine-tuned details when it comes to something like that through a chant, not exactly my thing. But the method I was talking about, the head, heart, and hand alignment, the intentional action towards energetic reciprocation, and then excuse me, the energetic refinement process of your manifestation. It's tried and true. It's pragmatic. Anybody can do it. Anybody can initiate it and begin. Even right now, even tomorrow, man. So that's definitely where you can't go wrong with that, because what the universe does, what the divine does in this instance, is it looks at your actions. It's not looking at what you're saying. It's looking at your actions, and it's looking at the intention you're putting towards your actions, and that is more direct in some ways too, because it sees clearly what you're intentionally doing, the actions you're putting energy towards, and it's like, okay, I'll meet that halfway. And that's the big thing about manifestation that a lot of people in our community think is like, you can just sit there and wish and will something and it'll come into being. No, because the divine is going to be like, okay, you want that, you got to show me you want that before I start helping you and giving you the things that you need to make this happen. Because that is one thing I have always believed, and I have seen it. The universe slash the divine is conspiring in your favor. You just need to remove the self-sabotage programming. You need to heal yourself to a certain degree, in my opinion, to truly see and understand that at a deep level. Because a lot of people, even myself included, have self-sabotage programming, and that self-sabotage program is telling you that everybody wants to fuck you, everybody that you meet is trying to fuck you, everything you're going to try to see, you're going to fail at, or don't do this, like this is too hard, and all that. And like, so that's something you have to work through. And then when you eventually get through that and you work through that, you will see that the divine is definitely conspiring to help you.
Yeah. I'm going to touch on that in a second, but Julius Roberts said, "Where's Transcending Ascension at?"
Oh, she is in the room actually working on her own videos. So yeah, she's doing pretty good.
Very cool. One thing that I have also figured out, and this has been probably within the last year, is you can't lie to yourself when you're manifesting either. Because engine I actually just had recently is like, it's very, very hard to sit there and say, I am abundant when you're on like social services or going to the food bank or whatever the unfortunate circumstance of your life is, because your subconscious knows you're lying to it. So you have to start at a reasonable expectation of like, I have this going on and I can get better from here. You can't just be, I'm abundant, because your subconscious knows you're lying. If you don't believe it, the universe doesn't believe it. Nobody's believing what you're saying other than the human pretending.
Absolutely, absolutely. And here's the thing is like too, that's also a very subjective thing too, where we're speaking about abundance, because abundance means different things to everybody. So you have to find where you're at in terms of abundance and what that means to you, and work from there. But you're absolutely right. One of the things, and I'm guilty of it too, and I've done this before in the past, is I have set the bar too high for myself when it comes to manifestation. But which, it's good to strive for the great always, but it is having a realistic and pragmatic viewpoint of what you're trying to achieve. And you can even stair step it too. That's also part of the energetic refinement process, is stair stepping. Like, that's, you get to that point where, like, okay, this is going on, now I can take this and start going higher, and start going higher. And when you cultivate a good energetic reciprocative foundation, intentional action foundation for what you're trying to achieve, you can start to do that. You're like, okay, I'm here. We hit this bar. We can now set the bar here, and you can keep moving towards that. This is the one thing too. I've been told a lot in my spiritual evolution is that this is not a race too. At the same time, so because it's not a race, um, when it comes to this too, you have to treat your manifestation as that as well. And one thing you were talking about was, sometimes we have resistance. When we're trying to manifest something, and there's a couple of things that can cause that. Number one is chasing it instead of attracting it. So if you are chasing it and you are like, compressing yourself, energetically compressing yourself is the best way that I can put it. You're putting too much stress into the manifestation. You're putting too much negative emotion into the manifestation. It becomes a chase instead of attraction. And what happens when you chase things? They run away, right? They run away. So if you are trying to chase this objective that you are trying to manifest, um, it's going to run farther away from you. It has to come from a space of calm. You have to tell yourself that I am doing the right things by the intentional action, by starting the channel, starting the web page, starting the business, getting it going, starting the looking for the homestead, starting the looking for the house, whatever it is. You have to approach it from a calm, cool, collected basis, because when you start to put stress or chase into things, we know that stress is low frequency, right? We know that chasing something is low frequency, right? So you start at lowering the frequency of your manifestation, and then that's when you start to hit resistance. There's also, that also plays into what I would call the importance factor. Um, when it comes to this as well. So it also plays in the importance factor. So if you place like a grave importance on something, you're basically putting weight. Think of your manifestation of what you're trying to achieve. Think of yourself as riding on a very calm, cool river to your objective. That's how you have to think of it. You have to be on this boat. You're not even paddling, man. The wind's taking you, the river's calm. You're on a clear trajectory towards what you're trying to manifest. Right now, when you start to place like this importance factor on it too, as well, which is also a form of stress and stuff, you're going to start to make waves in that river. You're going to start making a lot of waves when it comes to that as well. So you don't want that, because the waves are going to be a form of resistance. You want that clear ride on that very calm river all the way to what you're trying to do. You start to put that importance factor on it. You start generating that lower frequency that even falls into the chase of it all. The waves are going to start pushing you back on that stream, especially if you're on like a little, like, paddle boat or something, or a raft of some kind you're riding in. Yeah, what are you going to do at that point? You're going to get pushed farther and farther back. So it's a balance. It's about understanding. Sorry about that. That was alarm. It's about understanding that you are not here to chase, you are here to attract. And you have to have that trust and faith in the divine, knowing that through your intentional actions and taking all of the right steps towards what you are trying to achieve, you will be reciprocated. You will be given what you are looking for.
And I love that you can break it down to a almost scientific principle form and using the wave and frequency analogies, because first coming into this, can't accept it just as an understanding that these laws actually exist in our reality. You have to break it down in a rational sense for them, because they simply can't just jump into the metaphysical like you and I did, right? And I see, I love that you put it in that aspect. And something, how do you distinguish between genuine metaphysical integration and spirit or spiritual bypassing?
Ooh, how do you distinguish? Well, no offense to any of the witches in the audience, but you got to dig through the ditches and burn through the witches, dude. That's what it is. I mean, you like pure metaphysical integration is very deep and introspective. And spiritual integration is very deep and introspective. You gotta go in, you gotta clean house, dude, because what the cleaning of the house does is it's what truly allows you to ascend into the higher frequencies and to the higher levels of understanding. So healing is healing. Number one, if they're not doing the healing, they're definitely bypassing 100%. You know, they're negating the true process. And I mean, all those of you who know my show, I mean, have heard me beat this horse dead, multiple times. It is. If you're not, so that's how you tell the difference between bypassing and true metaphysical and spiritual integration. Is the bypasser negates their inner space. Somebody who is into true metaphysical and spiritual integration caters to their inner space, takes care of it, keeps it clean, keeps the energy moving. Okay, because that's what's going to make you ascend into deeper levels of understanding. Knowing all of the subjective or potential 92 extraterrestrial races does nothing for your fucking ascension. Okay, fucking having a massive collection of crystals. Don't get me wrong, I have a collection of crystals too. I can't hate on that, but strictly having just a massive collection of crystals is not going to help you get to the higher levels of deeper understanding. Okay, fucking and pulling tarot cards and oracle cards once a day to see what the universe is telling you and things like that is not going to get you to these deeper levels of understanding. The only way you are going to get there is to clean house in your inner space. That is the only way, because through doing that, like I've used this analogy before, imagine all of your bullshit, all of your traumas, all of the darkness within you is like a weighted backpack that you are walking with. Okay, and as you heal yourself and as you cater to your inner space and as you clean your inner space, you're removing weight from that backpack, and then you're no longer on the ground stuck in the physical three-dimensional density. You are now in the moving upwards into the higher frequencies of in the deeper levels of understanding, because you are cleaning out this weighted backpack. Okay, so like that is the difference between somebody who is bypassing and somebody who is working towards true metaphysical and spiritual integration. Is they take care of their inner space. They keep it. They work on that. They don't negate it. So that's definitely how you can tell.
I always love the flow of our conversations, and this was actually the first time I actually gave you my questions, and I doubt that you memorized them because there was a fuck ton. Oh, he's gone. He'll be back. He pushed the wrong button. Ooh, we will get back to that in a second. Yep, there he is.
Oh, sorry about that connection issue, I guess. But nope. What were you saying? Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, I was just saying, like, I love that our conversations always seem to kind of flow. And then, of course, it got interrupted just to make me look silly. But,
no, you're good. You're good.
No. But I love that they kind of flow, because you kind of went into my next question, and it actually kind of has to do with that inner space. And a lot of that is psychological and traumatic relating. Trauma related? What role does the nervous system or somatic memory play in creating and using our metaphysical tools, and how can we help to be more effective?
Oh, absolutely. I can nail this on the head for you, man. So the part that plays is as you start to get into the deeper levels of your healing, and as you continue to clean your inner space, what's going to happen is a lot of this stuff that a lot of these realizations and remembrances that you're going to have are going to come in feelings. and emotion. Right. So where your somatic, where your nervous system is, we know how emotions affect our nervous system, especially negative emotions affect our nervous system and our somatic response. And that's why when we do things like Kundalini yoga and Kriya yoga, or we do things like psychedelics or these different spiritual practices, we get somatic releases of this trauma. That's why, like, a lot of you, man, especially people I know, even Diana Transcending Ascension, you cry from mushrooms. A lot of people cry when they take mushrooms, or they have like this um this very deeply emotional experience. And this is where that somatic release comes to play. So when you heal yourself, and you start to unpack a lot of this stuff that's happened to you in your life, what happens is it resets your nervous system to accept these new sensations, to accept these new feelings, to accept these new emotions. Because one thing I've talked about on my show, when it comes to words fall short when we're trying to to truly describe what the fuck is really going on here. All right. A lot of these remembrances we get come in the form of like a symbolic internal archetypal language, number one, that will sometimes take time to digest. A lot of these remembrances and realizations come in the form of emotion and feeling. So that's where the nervous system and the somatic part of it comes into play. Is if you're cleaning house, you're opening yourself up in a responsive way to accept this new information, to accept this new understanding. Because if you're still carrying around that 600-pound backpack, um, you you're not opening yourself up to what else you can learn. And that's something too, like that's why a lot of us hit a sticking point, a lot of us in this community. And you and I were talking about this before, when we first embark on our awakening or remembering, it's like a rush, right? We're realizing all of this information where we become thirsty for more acquired knowledge. We become almost, it is like a lot of us are neurodivergent in this community, are we not? So we start to become obsessed. It's almost like an obsession of ours, and we continue to dig and dig, research, rabbit holes, spiritual books, whatever comes to play, whatever comes to mind. We start to, and then we hit this point where it's like, I call it the lull, right? And a lot of people experience this, and it's like, why is there no more information being poured into my crown chakra? Like, oh, like I'm seeing all the same shit just regurgitated over and over again. Like there's no new information. Hey Aurora, good to see you. Nice to see you again. But no, it's like, why am I not getting all of this new information? Like, what happens to all of the information? Like, everything's the same. I'm not learning anything new. It's not that you've hit a sticking point. It's because you need to integrate what you've learned. You need to start applying it to your experience. And through applying the knowledge and the acquired remembrances that you have realized, actualized, and learned into your everyday experience, then what you will begin to cultivate is a new perspective. You are going to shift your perspective. And a lot of us, understand that our perspective is what molds reality. And through implementing and integrating the metaphysical and spiritual principles, you are going to start to cultivate and craft a new perspective within yourself. And through this new perspective, you will start to begin to receive new information flow, new remembrances. So that's why we see a lot of people, they hop on the rabbit hole train, they hop on the awakening train, and then they almost like lose. They was like, oh, I've acquired all of this information, but the rush is gone now. The dopamine hit from all the information is freaking gone. So one of the biggest things we talk about in our community too is like, yes, when we're on that, we get that quick dopamine hit, but what we ultimately want too is that sustained dopamine, that natural dopamine. And that will begin to start to occur with you through the integration and the implementation of the metaphysical and spiritual principles in your life. You will start to craft that new perspective, and then that new surge of remembrance and information will come to you. It will. It is just the divine, your higher self going, all right, you know enough. You need to start acting upon it. You need to start walking the walk. And as soon as you start to walk the walk, then you will get more downloads. Then you will get deeper remembrances. So that's just one thing I wanted to add.
And of course, it absolutely rolls into my next question. It has to do with being stuck. How can someone stuck in the lower vibrational frequencies or states like in fear, shame, anger, even deep trauma angers, like your trauma anchors, like how can you begin to shift those upwards and like let
Well,
go of
this is one thing I'll say, and a lot of people have a hard time, and they're probably going to ruffle some jammies when I say this, but you are the cause of 99% of your bullshit. Okay, you are the cause of it. There's the rare 1%, which maybe your higher self chose before you incarnated here for some crazy kind of alchemy to help help you develop in a faster track or whatever it is. But as far as it is, you are the cause for 99% of your bullshit. I know I get a lot of flack for what it says. So what? You mean that I am the cause for this horrible thing happen to me? You chose this before you came here. All right, you chose a lot of what you are going to experience. You chose a lot of this before you came here. And then even the consequences of your bad actions, or your not good actions or your unaligned actions, are your fault. You know what I mean? If you're reaping any kind of, you reap what you sow. If you are dealing with an aftermath of bad decisions that have you stuck in a state of trauma or in a state of anger or sadness or things like that, the biggest thing you can do to release yourself from that victim mentality and to release yourself from being in that stuck state is to admit that you were in control of it and you are in control of now. Okay, you are in control of your next action. You are in control of how you react. You are in control. Okay, and not a lot of people like to hear this, because there is, even in our community, there's a grave amount of people who are still stuck in the victim mentality when it comes to this. So ultimately, what you do to get yourself, and it is painful, guys. I'm not saying it's easy. It is a tough thing to admit that you were the cause of 99% of your bullshit. It's a tough thing. You know what I mean? But here's the thing is it's more respectable to do that. Okay. Everybody's going to respect you more to take ownership for it. As opposed to negating it and being like, oh, it wasn't my fault. It was this fault. It was the fault of this. If this hadn't happened, then I wouldn't have done this. No, you were responsible for all of your actions. Doesn't matter what happens. And that's a hard thing for a lot of people to swallow, but that's ultimately what will get you unstuck from that. And you move from being a byproduct in creation to a creator in creation, because those who are stuck in the victim mentality, and who are wallowing in of themselves and can't admit and take accountability for the actions or whatever they did that brought them to the place they are being a byproduct of creation. They are not being a creator in creation. When you finally take accountability for yourself and you step out of being a byproduct of creation into a creator in creation, and when you step into that place, you will have a blank slate. And a blank slate is the best thing that you could ever freaking hope for when it comes to getting yourself unstuck. So that is how you do it, my friend.
And I absolutely agree. And 100%, like one of the fundamental shifts during my remembering was getting to the point of understanding that I love everything that ever happened to me. As fucked up as that sounds, like I've told my story to other podcasters. I even made Sam and Kirsten cry when I told them about how terrible most of my life was. But every single fucking terrible thing that happened to me right here, and I've never been happier or more successful in my entire fucking life. So it all happened for a reason.
Absolutely, man. And that's an amazing mentality to have, because ultimately, and this is what I tell people too, who are still stuck in that doom, that victim mentality. Those who have, even in our community, who have gone to like really great places. And I'm like, look, it's shitty to say, but if that hadn't happened to you, would you be where you're sitting right now? And this is what I would call like being able to, and this, you develop this with spiritual practices, meditation, training your mind, to take a third party view, unattached view, look at your life and look at the span of things that have occurred, and you know, like, they all led you to this moment that you're currently in right now. If anything had happened differently, would you be here? Right? Would you be here if that thing, let's say, if that person didn't fuck you over, or, you know, harm you the way that they did? Would you have been pushed towards the light? Would you have, because most of us, I'm not saying awakening cannot happen in other ways, but most of us here who awakened and got pushed towards the light, we saw the deepest, darkest depths that this reality and our souls had to offer. We saw this darkness, and we were like, we don't want any of that. We're good. You know what I mean? We don't want that. We want the light. We want Christ. We want whatever that entails. So ultimately, that's what it is, dude. It's it's you know, understanding, you know, that all of these events, all of this was a form of spiritual alchemy that you chose for yourself in the highest sense of the word, to get you to where you are today, to give you the realizations that you had that led you to your highest alignment and your deepest understanding of your existence and the nature of this reality.
I agree completely, because like it's other people in the community, it's my wife, it's friends at work. Like, all of the terrible things that did happen to me are now examples, and I use them as teachable lessons. It's like, oh yeah, I went something. Most of it's worse than what the person will tell me, and it's like, oh yeah, if you dial that back to where I was, yeah, I would just do this. And they're like, how the fuck do you know this? Oh, when I was like 6, somebody did this to me, and they're like, you were 6? And it's like, you know, this is just random shit that happens to me, but all of it was meant because you, me, Aurora, everybody else with a channel, everybody else that shows up and drops knowledge are the ones teaching each other, right?
Absolutely.
We had to experience these things in order to, you had the time to read the esoteric and have enlightened me so much. I had, you know, the kicked out, well, not kicked out, I left at 15 years old and went and lived an adult life from the age of 15 on, and had real world experience that blows people's mind. But every chance I get, I'm like, yeah, don't do this. Don't do what Donnie Don't did, because it's gonna fucking suck. Okay? Because Donnie Don't fucking lived this life for about 30 years and was in charge and fucked shit up. Right? And he learned a lot of valuable lessons that have helped other people, but it's fucking rough. Don't do it. Just listen to
Well,
Donnie Don't. Don't.
what you're doing is you're doing so, like, you know, you can have a whole bunch of knowledge, but wisdom is the application of that knowledge, you know, and that wisdom of life experience, you know, through your trials and errors, all of the things, the obstacles, the struggles, and everything you get to, it imparts a type of wisdom on you that just cannot be replicated or replaced. And we can't take that for granted, you know, because ultimately that's is what we're doing when we start to integrate and implement the metaphysical and the spiritual principles, is we are stepping into a wisdom of understanding, or an understanding wisdom within ourselves, that helps catalyze the deeper remembrance, that helps mold and build this new perspective. Because I've said this before, new earth, like, you know, we talk about new earth a lot in the community. New earth isn't just going to be poof, we're all in a heavenly lofty new earth and it's just poof, we're all there. No, new earth is going to emerge from cultivating this new perspective, and that's where it begins, is you start to cultivate a new perspective on reality through the acquired knowledge and remembrance that you have cultivated throughout your trials and tribulations in life, through the research, through the spiritual books. And that's why I say, like, you know, like, that's the next step for a lot of people like us, especially who get the basic fundamentals and the basic principles, is to start implementing and integrating. And that's what's going to lead us to the deeper and deeper truths, you know. So that's definitely, I just wanted to add that part in there as well.
Oh, absolutely. And I love how it's not going to be a poof, because I know the term New Earth gets thrown around, and Dolores Cannon had her ideas of like an actual physical separation. But I think what it actually is going to be more along the lines of is a reclamation of our reality. Like, it's just going to, we're going to be the ones in control of the reality. It's not like poof, a new planet. It's, we're the ones in charge of what we perceive and what happens in our reality. And it's going to be the 100th monkey when we all fucking get it. And it's like, oh, let's, and then we go back to like a Tartarian structure, but that's a whole other fucking show. But no, I totally agree.
Nice, man. For sure, for sure. No, and that's what it is, man. Don't get me wrong. I got much love for Dolores. She's great. But again, too, like, that's the one thing that this is why I really, I don't speak on a lot of this stuff until like I feel like I fully integrated it, is because a lot of, and don't get me wrong, channelers are great. They've done us a lot of help. But the subjective spins, subjective spins on things. That's where things start to get muddy, murky. And also too, it could be a different variation of this timeline they could be channeling, and this is why we see people who have had these channelings, these predictions throughout the years, and they've gotten things wrong and things have never happened. They could have been drawing information from a different timeline, and we have been hopping timelines very much, in this process, to the point where it's like, I think we're kind of out of a cataclysm timeline. I think we're out of that. I think now what we're dealing with is what I call a siege, a slow unveiling. And that's the timeline we've worked ourselves up to at this point. Because here's the thing, and this is just something I've seen in my own experience, because I've been in this, dude. I woke up back in 2008, and no, that does not make me better than anybody else because I woke up early. I still don't know everything, and I'm still learning even after going on 18 years now of being on this evolution. But I'll tell you what, man, so many things were supposed to happen that did not. COVID was like the first thing in the 12 years that I had been on the evolution that actually started to, yes, good call, Spinja. Or no, that's not Spinja. That's Michael King, QHHT. No, exactly. You hit the nail on the head. It's perspective. That's exactly what it is, and we talk about another man's heaven is another man's hell, correct? So like, let's just even throw this out there, just hypothetically, let's spitball it. Let's say the fake alien invasion happened, right? Let's just say it did. All right. People like us, we're like, holy shit, let's enjoy the show. This is going to be great. Popcorn. Let's watch what happens. That's what we're all going to be like. But then you have the other people who are going to be freaked the fuck out. This is going to be hell on earth. We have these perspectives, everything, dude. So yes, Michael King, I agree. 3D and 5D are going to be walking next to each other. And that 5D is going to emerge from a perspective that has been cultivated towards that. And that's how it's going to work. Completely agree, dude. Right on the money.
Yeah, absolutely agree as well. And I meant no disrespect to Dolores, because Dolores and QHHT were fundamental in my understanding and remembering. No, Michael just said loving Dolores. I have a place. She taught me so much in the beginning, and I filtered through and discerned what I carried with me and what I haven't. But no, Dolores was a huge, huge part in me understanding any of this, and love from beyond the grave to her, because like QHHT, the practice and principle of it opened my mind to greater depths than I ever could have done for years of research. And she played a huge part in the system she developed. So I was not taking a shot at Dolores at all. So please don't anybody take it that way.
No, you were not. No, man. Let me tell you what, Dolores, like out of all the people I tell people to read, man, like Dolores is one of them. Like my two kings for that I call the highest in my realm right now are Carl Jung and Alan Watts.
Oh, love Carl.
As of right now, and like, yeah, so totally. But Dolores gets love too, man. Definitely, she's had a huge part in a lot of my remembrances and my realizations too. But yeah, no, man, and that's what it is. It's going to come, and this is demystifying it. This is removing all the bells and whistles and kind of showing how this is going to be practically and pragmatically applied, and how this is going to manifest. Is it's going to manifest through that perspective, because perspective is important for existence. It's what molds reality. It's what not only remolds our subjective reality, it also molds our collective reality as well. So yeah, I just wanted to throw that in there.
And again, you've done it because we're at the bells and whistles part, and that's one of the things I wanted to help people filter through, and I know you'd be one to speak on it. how do you personally determine which spiritual tools, objects, or practices truly act as effective permission slips for you rather than becoming another layer of the bells and whistles that distracts from direct access to the desired state?
Well, this is what I will say to you. Okay. Things that are not bells and whistles, any form of meditation, right? Any form of introspection, going within yourself, getting to know your inner space, cleaning the house, meditation, definitely not bells and whistles. Any kind of plant medicines too, I'm going to say, or not. Sorry, the dog kicked over something. Anything that is plant medicines are not bells and whistles. I know there's a lot of people in the community who have negative opinions on them, and this is the one thing I will just say about that, because uh, and I'm just going to throw this in there. So take a look at DMT. We produce DMT naturally, right? It's not only found in us naturally, it's found in every single living thing in this cosmos, this existence, in trace amounts. From the plants to the animals to us, even to sea life. Apparently, the sea life also has endogenous DMT. The DMT to me is the almost the physical representation of the spiritual connection between all of existence. Okay, and you look at these psychedelic compounds; they all have DMT as a backbone to them. Okay, so you're having a, yes, maybe it's not pure consciousness you're experiencing. Maybe not. Maybe this is a heightened state of consciousness, a higher frequency consciousness. But nonetheless, this is a very real experience you're undergoing. It can give you great insight and deeper levels of understanding. So that's not bells and whistles for sure. Anything that's bells and whistles, man, like getting obsessed with logistics, getting obsessed. Like I said, you don't need to know all the 92 hypothetical extraterrestrial races to ascend or to achieve ascension or enlightenment. You don't need to go to somebody who's charging you $500 fucking dollars to channel the Ashtar command. That's bells and whistles. Getting too obsessed in the accessories is bells and whistles. Getting too obsessed in the tarot cards, getting too obsessed and things, tools and things like that. Bells and whistles. Getting overcomplicating things is bells and whistles. Trying to add flair, dressing things up is bells and whistles. Ultimately, what's going to help everybody achieve the highest state of alignment and the deeper levels of understanding is stripping fat. It's trimming the fat off of all of that and getting down to the key foundational principles of the esoteric and the metaphysical. All right. And I'll even go over some of them right now. So we've all heard the saying, as above, so below, as within, so without, as the universe, so the soul. Okay, so the one thing I like to start off with is as within, so without. Okay, and this is why Hermes, even though we all have differing opinions on Hermes Trismegistus, this is one, Hermeticism's tried and true. Okay, Hermeticism is something that is like a backbone fundamental to the esoteric, in my opinion, and you can't go wrong with having Hermeticism as a backbone to your structure. Trust me on that. So, as within, so without. I'm going to start in the middle. Your external existence is a conscious symbolic mirror of your internal existence. Okay, and this is where I did on BG Cast season 2. I did the symbolic lens, looking through your existence through a symbolic lens. If you start to do that, instead of looking at the literal that's right in front of you, start looking at the symbolism of what's in front of you, the symbolism of the different scenarios that occur in your life, the symbolism of the things you see, the encounter. Like, a good example of this is like, have you ever been like in a sticking point with something and you walked by two people who you had just happened to overhear this conversation they're having that is actually about the same thing that you're in a sticking point about, and you gain insight from that. That is the divine. That's your higher self. That's the symbolic lens. That's, hey, Here's your answer. You know what I mean? The divine, our higher selves and the divine speak to us in many ways. It's very rarely literal. A lot of the times it's communicated through symbolism, it's communicated through emotion, feeling, things like that. So that's what as within, so without really means, is you have to understand that your perceived external experience is a mirror. It's a conscious symbolic mirror of your internal one, and they're reciprocative of each other. And that's why sometimes if you take care of something internally, you'll see your reality shift on the external. Or if you take care of something that's on the external, you'll feel your internal reality shift. So they are reciprocative in that format. So that is the number one, like, bare basic foundation principle you have to understand, especially being on the spiritual revolution, is what you experience, okay, in your external world is going to be a symbolic mirror of your internal existence. That is definitely one way we can trim the fat off, and we can help people start to understand this on a deeper level. Then you have, as above, so below. Everything is self-similar. Everything is essentially the divine consciousness having a subjective focal point. Time and space does not exist truly outside of the third dimensional realm. It does not exist. So with that being said, it not existing, this is how we have a lot of these divine subjective focal points, and self-similarity on all scales. It is the God consciousness. So that is as above, so below. So understand, as you look up into the sky at night, you are looking deep within yourself. That is something that you have to understand as well. And then you have as the universe, so the soul. Just kind of hit that right there. You're looking at yourself. When you look into the sky, you are looking at yourself. You're looking deep into the chasm, the inner space. The outer space mimics inner space. In fact, I think inner space is a little bit bigger than outer space, in my opinion. And that just shows you the vastness of your true nature. So these are like these key, trimming the bells and whistles off of things and trimming the fat off of things is focusing on the key foundational principles of the esoteric and the metaphysical. It's not worrying about the extraterrestrial races. It's not worrying whether or not Donald Trump sucked Bill Clinton's dick. It's not worrying about the next rabbit hole. It's not worrying about all of this other stuff. We know that the esoteric is a very deeply internal journey. It's a deeply internal evolution. That's where the focus should be. And understanding that your external existence is a mirror of that, that's how you transfer that focus into a different perspective in a different way.
I absolutely agree. And one of the things, I've watched the symbolic lens episode on your channel, and I'm going to tell everybody, like, if you're watching this, go watch that episode, because it breaks this down in such an amazing way that it's something everybody going through this should really understand. And I'm going to do two things. I'm going to pull up K Tillap and then 13, and I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name. Plant medicines are great, but should be used with reverence and respect, not recreationally for fun or to get fucked up. My opinion about them, absolutely 100%.
I agree with that. Lynn knows I agree with her on that. She knows, and I've definitely said that on my show. Totally agree, Lynn. Definitely.
Yeah, that is not, well, I'm sure both of us have had our experiences where we went into that reality with the wrong attitude on or state of mind and got slapped around a bit. And yes, you are absolutely correct. Do not fuck around because you do not want to find out.
Let me tell you what, you'll be held accountable. That's the thing. Once you understand that psychedelics, because we all have that phase where we first encounter psychedelics, and they're fun. We're taking them for fun reasons. But then when you step into the spiritual side and you now understand and realize that these are very revered and powerful spiritual tools, you can no longer go back into taking them that way. No. And if you try to go back into taking them that way, you will get a spiritual beat down every single time. You will get spiritually beat down because now you're being held accountable for your new awareness. Go ahead, Don. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I'm going to put a quick pause there because at the beginning of the show, I asked, where the fuck were you? And I actually created a cartoon. It's part of the EMF series. And I'm going to share it now because I drank a bottle of water and need to step away for a second. But I hope you guys enjoy this. And this is one of the universes, one of the realities where I truly believe Stephen and Diana have been for the last little bit. So please enjoy this.
Hello, EMF. This is an emergency message from Commander Chris at FKN. BG Cast and Spirit Mom are missing, and we have uploaded the last known footage.
BG Casts, I need your help. I think I've been drugged by something from the drive-thru.
Now that we have captured Spirit Mom and BG Cast, there is no one left to stop us from dominating the beverage industry with General Tim's Coca Cafe blend.
I am Extra Trip Roll.
And now I am General Tim. I am here from EMF. We have come to help. Do you know where they are holding BG Casts?
Down the hall, I think.
Keep moving.
Where are you taking me?
You'll see. Hey, Fearless. The universe rewards the brave. Come with me. I am Extra Trip Roll. I am here to help.
Now let's find the others and that bastard General Tim. Open fire! Take them down! Energy shields up! Targeting their flank! We can hold them all! Now! We won't back down!
General Tim, you son of a bitch, I am here to stop you and the Coco Cafe cartel. Are you ready for your awakening?
So how did you both manage to get captured by General Tim?
That's a long story. BG Casts, I need your help. I think I've been drugged by something from the drive-thru.
It's time to flip some tables.
Well, long story short, we now both know the dangers of General Tim's and that it shuts down superpowers.
We also learned to listen to Metaphysical Man and Spinja about the evils of General Tim's.
Dude, I love that. I love it so much. It's some higher timeline stuff too, because instead of just killing General Tim Horton, we helped him awake. And
hit me.
Dude, and you want to know what? I want to thank Trip for breaking me out of jail. And Frank Castle is truly like that in the astral realm. That is Frank Castle to a T, and the astral realm. I love that, dude. I love it so much. For those of you who don't know, there's a place in Canada. It's called Tim Hortons. It's like the McDonald's of Canada. We'll just call it that way. And that's where they talk about everybody's addicted to the coffee there. And Don was telling me there was urban legends of how they laced the cup with nicotine. I joked that there was a skit the guy posted on YouTube about going to war with Canada if the U.S. went to war with Canada. And in the beginning, he goes, General Tim Horton's forces have us down in the trenches. And so that's why I started calling it General Tim's. And I joked that he puts cocaine in his coffee because it is so addictive. But I love that, man. That is awesome. But, no, it's honestly, man, it's the hiatus was needed. There was things, obviously getting integrated and everything back, getting everything sorted out because, you move out of a space and you go back into survival for a little bit. And that's something that I've talked about on my channel, It's always survival before enlightenment. You have to master survival before you can start working on enlightenment. And this is actually a very old, spiritual tradition to think that way. It's actually very Taoist too. So, I kind of went back into survival, but now we're on the way back up. And I do plan on making my return. I am coming back for a season 4. Season 4 is going to be done a little bit differently than season 2 and season 3 was done. We're kind of going back to how things were in season 1. We're still going to have guests, don't get me wrong, but the guests are going to be few and far between. Ultimately, where I am starting to take myself back to is teaching again. And this is actually why I'm actually really happy about this episode, because as you guys can see, I can, when it comes to teaching, I said I demystify these things. I trim the fat off of them, and I give you the to the bone, cut and dry how you do this, how you implement this. Even when I did my subtle body, everybody gives me shit for saying subtle, even Diana. So subtle body episode, the demystified subtle body episode, where I demystified the subtle body, showed you how to train it, showed you how to activate it, showed you how to work with it and cultivate it and take care of it. It's not complex, it's not difficult, and that's why that's why a lot of people don't like me in this community too, is because I remove the bells and whistles, and they get upset. They're like, no, I want to circumambulate the mountain 333 times at 3:33 p.m. I want to do that because it makes me feel like I'm doing something. And I'm like, okay, cool, no worries, you can do that, that's fine, but that's not for everybody. Okay, we're dealing with a lot of us who are awakening around our spiritual evolution. We are blue collar people. We're not in these upper echelons of society we need the cut and dry approach. We need the straight to the point, and that's where I come in. That's where I come in. I give you the straight to the point. I'm not giving you this fluff. I'm not telling you that, if you're not doing this, you're doing it wrong. Or if you're not doing it this way, you're missing something. No, everybody's going to have their own way of doing things. That is the special and the priceless aspect of our spiritual evolution. We all have our own subjective experience, our different opinions on God, different opinions on the philosophies, different opinions on all of this. And that's the way it's meant to be. And nobody's doing anything wrong. The only way you're doing something wrong is if you are taking yourself further from your highest alignment. That is the only way you're doing something wrong. Okay, and that, of course, is up to you, the decisions you make, the actions you put forth into your existence. So that's how you do wrong. Oh, yes, Lynn, I will message you for sure. I'll send you the new number. Sorry about that. But no, that's where it all comes into play. So that's the one thing, man, is nobody's doing anything wrong. The only way you're doing something wrong is if you're taking yourself from your highest alignment. You're pushing yourself farther away from that. And ultimately, that's in your control. If you're making bad choices towards your spiritual evolution, you're making bad decisions towards your spiritual evolution, you're not cleaning out your inner space, that's when you start to traverse down that path. But other than that, man, this is going to be subjective to everybody. Everybody's going to have their own niche. Everybody's going to have their own way of doing it. And that's what's beautiful about it. And that's what should be celebrated and cherished. Telling somebody they're doing something wrong because they're not doing it by the book or how it's said in this line or this and this. No, dude, we're at a point where it's like we have to start adding to spirituality. Okay, like these, and I've caught in flack for saying this in the past on other shows before. We have to start adding to the spiritual doctrines. We have to start, don't get me wrong, things like the Kabbalion, the Corpus Hermeticum, all of these books, they did wonders in the times of old. Okay, but we are in a new age. And when I say new age, I don't mean the new age community. I mean, we are in a new age. We are in a new age where spiritual information is even more accessible to us. I've talked about this. Back in the day, if you wanted to have a spiritual evolution, it would take lifetimes to achieve, because you might have to take that 6-week boat voyage to finally get to this one place that you need to hike up this mountainous plateau that might take you like a week just to get to this one monastery, just to look at this one book. But we're in an age where all of this information is accessible to us right at our fingertips. We're not taking the 6-month-old, yes, we're not taking the 6-week-long boat voyages anymore. We're not having to do all that. We have all that accessible. So now it's time we add to it. We start to build upon it. That's our job now. Okay, we can't keep looking at the books of old. Yes, the books of old can be a guideline for what we're looking at now. We can use them as a guideline, but to continuously put your perspective and stock and faith into these books of old and think that this is the way exactly how it is, I think you need to take a deeper look at things, and you need to look within yourself a little more and find that there are some things that words can point, but they cannot reveal. That is the one thing I will say about this, is words can point you in a direction, but they cannot reveal. The actual revelation comes from within, and that's where the true information can be found.
I love that. And I truly think that's why you and I clicked and connected so well, is like, when I fell out of bed, we'll say, and came into my awakening or remembering, I had like damn near a breakdown for like 11 months. All I did was rabbit hole, research. And one of the things I found was like very few people come at it from that grade 6 101 perspective. And that was initially one of the reasons I even started my show, was like, I was like, this hurts my head. Say it in stupid speak. And I was like, I'm going to ask my questions of the people that I know have the correct answers and will answer me the way that I'll understand it. And I'm 3 seasons in now, and it's going great. And it's literally because we're coming at it from a very similar scope, and it's what people need. Like, I went from 15, I'm heading for 600, right? I had 15 subscribers when I first started, and I'm almost at 600, and like, no bots, no filler, no huge promos. I didn't pay for shit. Organic. And I think that's the organic blue-collared shit that we need, because I've said it before, and Sarah the Alchemist gave me shit for it. I have a grade 10 education. That doesn't mean shit. I understand stuff that my sister, who's a school teacher, wouldn't understand if I sat in fucking crayon. So,
dude, you do amazing, dude. And honestly, I can't, dude. I've watched you grow ever since you first started, man. And like, I better not ever hear you any self-deprecating jokes from you, my friend. You do amazing. You do absolutely amazing. And no, that's what it is, though, too. Like, don't get me wrong, man. In the beginning, when I first woke up, I read all of the complex spiritual books. I read the Corpus Hermeticum. I read the Kabbalion. I did a lot of this stuff. I read it, but like, that's what I'm saying. Like, this is why, like, it goes over so many people's heads, because like I was saying at the beginning of the show, if you truly want people to understand, it has to be delivered at a 5th grade reading level. And I noticed over the years, like, I became I gained this strange ability to do it. Diana does it, you do it, Sarah does it, so this is what the divine is calling for. This is what the divine wants. It wants more people to reconnect and understand their true nature, so that it has opened up almost the floodgates to us being able to relay the information in a way that the common person can understand, and that they can actually start to utilize it to benefit themselves, and to actually see how this stuff works, how important it is to us, how there is a divine creator. We are a part of this divine creator, and ultimately it wants to see us happy. It wants to see us succeed. So that's why we're entering this new age, man. And this is where we are here, is now we have the ability to do this. We have the ability to take what was formerly seen in the past as a complex esoteric topic and deliver it in such a bare bones, cut and dry way that people can understand, people can resonate. And that's ultimately where we're heading towards too, is that's what we want. And that's why I get frustrated with the community sometimes when they overcomplicate shit, because I'm like, dude, stop. You're turning everyone off. Like, you're turning even new people who are starting to awaken. They're going to take one look at what you're saying and be like, holy shit, how am I going to fucking digest all that? Like, they're like, how am I gonna incorporate this? How am I gonna digest all of this into something practical I can use and apply to my everyday life? And that's why, the bells and whistles are a fucking disservice. They are. So like, that's why, a lot of people in the community that this has been the thing in my life. People have either really loved me or they've really fucking hated me. And that is the same in our community. People either really love me or they fucking hate me because I take away their bells and whistles. I take away their dress up. And they're like, no, I need the dress up. And like, don't get me wrong. If you need the dress up for a little bit just to get yourself acquainted with it, that's fine. You know what I mean? I'm not hating on all of that. But for you to use it as a crutch and to just solely rely on the bells and whistles, that's when you start to black ass, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. And Spinja in the audience is like, like, how do you fucking complicate sourdough? But they have,
Oh yeah.
Like,
Oh, yeah.
People need practicals. Aurora's saying people need practical examples. In another recent post, you spoke about how about focusing on the real shit. I read and absorb your posts because it's some of the things that you want to yell from the top of your lungs, but we all know standing on the roof with a megaphone doesn't do shit. And we were actually touching this on earlier. You were speaking about like things like spiritual house cleaning from within, right? Where would you suggest that people start with the spiritual housekeeping?
Well, even kind of adding on to what you were just saying, so the one thing about it was the whole thing thinking about Jim Carrey being a clone and a body double and things like that, or whatever it was. And so, like, actually, I'm gonna pull for our friend, from our friend Emily Moyer. It's actually my favorite quote she ever fucking said. The conspiracies are true, but that's not the point. Okay, like that's the number one thing I'm gonna say. Yes, the conspiracies are true, but that's not the point. Okay, the point of the conspiracies, all right, and all of the rabbit holes is you come to the end of the rabbit hole, you find that you yourself are at the end of the rabbit hole. Okay, you come to find that with every single fucking conspiracy has esoteric ties and origins. Okay, things like that. Every single fucking conspiracy, every single fucking rabbit hole, whether it be the body doubles, the cloning, things like that, are all trying to ultimately show you that there is a underlying spiritual nature to this existence. And that is of the utmost importance. And I've even used the cake analogy. Frank loves the cake analogy, right? So you got a big fucking giant cake, right? And and the geopolitical, the conspiracies, the rabbit holes, all that are the very thin layer of icing on this big giant fucking cake, dude. And we're people like you and we're cutting slices of the cake. We want to see what's fucking in the cake. We're like, yeah, dude, what's in the cake is the good shit. This is where we want to be. And then we go around, we look at the people behind us and we're like, do you want a piece of cake? And they're like, no, we're just looking at the icing. The icing looks great. We're gonna stay at the icing. And we're just looking at these people and we're just like, what? So like that would be a form of spiritual house cleaning. Like, yes, don't get me wrong, the conspiracies are fucking entertaining. Some of them are laughable, but here's the thing, guys. A lot of them are the same fucking conspiracies that have been regurgitated for the past 30 to 40 years. Okay, there's nothing new. Yes, we know there is a fucking pedophilic, blood-sacrificing elite. Or I don't even call them elite, parasite class. Yes, we know this. Yes, we know there's interdimensional involvement in our existence. Yes, we know this. Like, yes, we are aware of this already. We're aware of this, okay? So the biggest spiritual house cleaning would be to understand that while, yes, all of this is going on, ultimately, the more that I work on myself and the more that I evolve myself to be in my highest alignment and have a deeper connection with the divine, that is ultimately what's going to change this reality. Not focusing on the next viral psyop that comes out and posting funny memes about it for the next 3 fucking months. Okay, like that's I'm not saying don't laugh, and that's the thing too. A lot of people are like, what? We're not allowed to laugh? Like we're not allowed to? No, you are most certainly allowed to laugh. You can look at it, have a sense of humor, laugh about it. Humor's great. Okay, but it's when you ultimately only start to focus on the humor. And that's all you focus on. or you're only focusing on the memes, only focusing on the psyops, only focusing on those things. That's all you post, that's all you talk about, that's all you think. What you're doing to your mind stream is you're pulling yourself farther away from that true alignment. You're pulling yourself farther away from the deeper meaning to what's happening. So, like, that's what I mean. People in our community are guilty of it all the time. It's one thing to look at a meme, laugh at the psyop, maybe share a couple memes about it. But if you're sharing the fucking meme about that fucking same psyop for the next 2 fucking months, dude, what are you really doing with your life? At that point, what are you really doing? Yeah, it's like,
well, and like I can speak on this firsthand because part of my awakening was realizing multidimensional consciousness was real. And if you do get into that state where all you're doing is focusing on the rabbit hole or, you know, the next psyop or whatever, it almost, well, it does. It becomes spiritual psychosis. It can drive you fucking insane. You will seem like a fucking lunatic to everybody you're talking to because you have become an obsessive, completely. I became to the point where it's all I could talk about was the secret space program. And now I really want nothing to do with it because I understand what it is. Right. And all that was the bell and whistle. It was my catalyst. It got me in the fucking door. I don't need it anymore. I don't need to write a book. I don't need to go to conferences. I'm not shitting on conferences. Nobody write me an nasty email. I fucking love you guys, but I don't need to go speak at them. I don't need to write you a book. If you want to talk to me about my experiences, hook me up, like hit me up. I'll tell you, but I can explain them better to you than I could ever write a book. So
I just got to say something to Aurora real quick. That Trudeau Katy Perry meme that you posted. That was fucking. I still think about that one and laugh. That was good, but no, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right though, man. But that's the thing too, is it's like, because this is one thing I've always said, and I've even said on my show. Your path to truth must walk hand in hand with a spiritual one. I'm looking at what Lynn said. Also, remember what you want to spend your mental money on. Exactly. Good call, Lynn. I love that. You were absolutely right. Yeah, energy goes where the focus goes, right? So if your energy is going to all that stuff, that's, yeah, you're spending mental money on shit that's not further from you. But ultimately, one thing I've said on my show a lot is, your path to truth must walk hand in hand with a spiritual path. It must. And at minimum, the path of the good person. If the spiritual path is not your thing, or you're not quite there yet, at minimum, the path of the good person. Because what this will do is it will help you out of that spiritual psychosis. You will be evolving, cultivating yourself to a deeper level of understanding, so that when you face these very hard truths, or you face these earth-shattering realizations, you don't fragment and you don't go into a spiritual psychosis. The number one other thing I could say for people to stop doing that is stop putting all of your eggs in one basket when it comes to your belief spectrum. For the truth that you know today might not be the truth that you know tomorrow. You have to always stay open, because if you put all of your eggs in one belief basket and you have an experience that shows you that your belief basket is fucking wrong, which a lot of us do have in our spiritual level. I've been back to the spiritual drawing board. Fuck. I can't even count how many times in these past 18 years, dude. I can't even count how many times I've gone back to the spiritual drawing board throughout old beliefs I had, implemented new things, and things like that. That's also going to save you from that spiritual psychosis. Is to always stay open and understand that truth is ever evolving. It's always going to evolve in that aspect, and that will stop you from having psychosis influence too. And that's what happens. You see the conspiracy community right now, because back before 2020, the conspiracy community understood this, right? They knew that there was a spiritual nature to reality, and it was looked into and it was agreed upon. And then after 2020, after the conservative Christians got thrown in, and you have all these black pillars that got fucking thrown in, after 2020, this is how long I've been in the games, guys. I've seen it evolve. I've seen it to where I've seen what it was before, and I see where it is now. you got all these conservative Christians and these black pillars thrown into the community. And now it's like the spiritual nature of reality is completely negated, or it's got to be fucking Judeo-Christian. The middle path, no. Don't look at the middle path. But you want to be a fucking tithing Christian, go right the fuck ahead. Tithing modern Christian, you can do that, but don't look at the middle path. But anyways, but that's what it is. You know what I mean? So like, you look at the conspiracy community now, you're full of these fucking black pillars that just completely negate the underlying. They think everything's fucking doom. We're better off if an asteroid fucking hits us. All of this bullshit, dude. So don't get me. I'm not gonna go on a rant about that, but you get what I mean.
Oh yeah, and with your belief system thing, our fearless leader at FKN broke me of that with one saying, and it's something I've held on to since, and it changed my existence. I don't have a belief system. I have a current understanding. And
Chris says that perfectly. Agreed.
And that is something I have held on to, and it's stuck in my heart because it's really the way you need to approach this reality, because I'm going to steal your line next. Most of what you see is fucking fake and gay, because it's all made up. It's all controlled. It's all by somebody else. You really can't believe into something until you experience it, right? And you'll experience it as an emotion and a frequency.
And I'd say this leads us to the conundrum. It's like everything you see online is fake and gay. Everything you experience is real but can't be proven. that is a divine sense of humor. If I have ever seen one, that's a divine sense of humor, because that's exactly what we're dealing with at this point in time. Everything you see on the internet's fake and gay. Everything you experience is real but cannot be proven. So that's where we're at. That's why I say, you got to learn to laugh. You got to have a sense of humor about it, for sure. But it's when you completely only focus on the humor and you're not focusing on anything else, that's when it becomes detrimental.
Yeah. Well, I know you're sitting at your kitchen table and it's not a real comfy place to sit for a long period of time, so I am going to wrap this up. I can say on my point, I think the last thing I would say is the goal of this conversation is for you guys to understand that effortless direct access to the desired states like peace, your alignment to your higher consciousness without dependency on external crutches in the long term is really the goal here, right? You can have the tools, but you're going to eventually realize that you don't even need the permission slip, because it really is just you. It was just a temporary catalyst, right? And that's what you need to take away from this. Stephen, I'd love to hear your final thoughts on it.
My final thoughts are this. You are already everything. Okay? You are already everything. You are everything that was, is, or ever will be. Okay? You're already everything. And that's the point here. Well, yes, the bells and whistles and, even some of the spiritual practices are good catalysts. They help get you to cultivate that deeper level of understanding. But at the bare core foundation, you are everything. It is just the realization and the actualization that needs to take place that you are everything. And ultimately, that's where you want to go. It's not down the newest rabbit hole. Technically, there's no new fucking rabbit holes. They're all the same. It's not fucking learning about the 150th hypothetical extraterrestrial race that could exist. It's not about fucking having a gigantic stick of sage while you draw your oracle cards every morning. No, the ultimate goal of the spiritual evolution, and the most cut and dry way I can put it, is the realization and the actualization that you are indeed everything. And that is where I'll leave it tonight, my friend.
I absolutely love this, and I appreciate you spending 90 minutes with me, and I appreciate everybody that came back and checked it out. I think we were at like 12 or 15 people at one point. So any ballpark on when you'll be back on the air and when we can expect anything out of that? And
so I'm looking at right now, it's probably potentially going to be next month. I have a couple things in the works right now. The other thing I'm trying to do for you guys too is I'm trying to deliver. I know you guys liked what I did, but I'm trying to even take it up a step further. I'm trying to deliver more quality content. And that's why I want to get back into teaching. I know a lot of you who have been with me, throughout the seasons of my show, really loved my solo shows. In fact, that's what got Don on me. That's what got Spinja on me, the solo shows. And I feel like season 3 just got really overran with guests. Not hating on the guests. I love sitting down and talking to you guys. Don't get me wrong. But I feel like I got drawn away from what originally made BG Cast. I feel like I stepped away from that. So now my goal is to get back to my roots, to get back to the reason why I started BG Cast. I'm trying to do more detailed teaching shows. We're going to have guests. Don't get me wrong. We're going to have guests, but the guests are not going to be an every week thing. So the guests are going to be more plotted. They're going to be more planned. I'm trying to be more interactive with my show. So right now it's looking like April is going to be my comeback. But no, I'm coming back, guys. Don't worry. I'm even working on a little novelette right now, a little ebook, which is actually the pragmatic way to integrate the spiritual and the metaphysical principles. I'm trying to make it short and sweet. I will be coming back. I'm not going anywhere for long. I'm actually just, getting accustomed to the new happy life that I'm in, and I'm enjoying my time in the process of it as well. And really practicing what I preach, implementing and integrating the metaphysical and the spiritual principles into this all. So I can come back and help you guys on a deeper level too and learn more. Because that's the thing. A lot of the stuff I experience and I feel and I see a lot of things. But like I said, words fall fucking short. When you're trying to describe what's really truly going on here. And with that being said, when I finally get the words to a way I can describe it to you, that's when I say it to you. So that's why I have your best interest in mind. I'm not trying to put my own grandeur, subjective spin on things when I try to say things to you guys. I am always trying to give it to you the most cut and dry that I possibly can so it can help you. So that's kind of what's been going on.
And again, I have to commend you, and I love everything that you're doing because you truly embody the walking the walk, talking the talk, because you're much like me. You took a fucking huge leap of faith. We probably went about the same distance across the continent, just in different directions. But it's fucking nerve-wracking to drive across an entire country just to do something that you think might work, and you feel it, but you're like, shit, reality does kick my ass, and you have to have that faith in yourself to fucking jump, and you did, and I commend that.
Tell Lonnie it's fucking cold. All right, that's why I'm wearing a jacket and a hat indoors. It's fucking cold where I'm at. But no, I appreciate that, man, and that's why I do, because I mean, a lot of people always knew I practiced what I preached, and I did. I show it too. I mean, I still take care of my body. I'm still healthy. I'm fucking, all that, and I still do my Kundalini Kriyas. I still do all that. But it's you can do all that's all fine and dandy, but sometimes you have to dive in. You have to freaking you have to dive in. You just got to dive in, and you got to immerse yourself in the experience, man. And yes, the working out, the being healthy, and the kriyas or the spiritual practices, that's a good foundational basis that you can work from as you dive. So ultimately, that's what I did. I had to dive in a little deeper, dude.
And I just want to touch on what Lonnie said about the toucan hat. He's in fucking Ontario, dude. It is damp and cold there, and it's a different kind of cold there. So I understand the toucan hat or fucking sweater inside. It's not fun.
Well, dude, it's like, we got a little bit of warm weather here, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, we got some snow today. So it's like, Mother Nature being the way it is, especially in these environments. So. But nonetheless, dude, thank you for having me on. It was good to sit back down with you. It was good to be back on the screen for the first time in a few months, man. I miss all of you. Shout outs to everybody. Jason, Aurora, Spinja, Lonnie, you too, man. Julius,
Francis McDunn.
Francis, shout out to you too, man. I promise your episode is getting uploaded as soon as I start again. I promise, dude. So. Yeah.
And on my end of things, I want to thank everybody who came in and participated in the chat and is listening to this in the future. And like I always say, I love you guys. And if you can, please do go outside because it's a lot better than sitting in front of this screen.
Hey, Norfolk County! Home needs fixing? Freedom Handyman Norfolk handles repairs, renovations, snow removal, and more. Small team, big results. Check out for Freedom Handyman Norfolk on email today. Freedom Handyman, ready for you.
Metals have been melted, molds have been poured, coming soon to Braden Missile online store.